And we're double checking the audio.
We seem good. I'm going to click record here so we don't forget.
Yeah.
We are recording.
5, 4, 3, 2.
And we're recording into the mic.
Welcome, travelers. We're aware that your journey was difficult.
You're doing this as the live stream audio?
Prepare to have your questions answered. For
audio
you
here,
have been granted an audience with the masters of magic.
All right. Hi, guys.
Sick. What's up, everybody? I don't have my chat here, but I can see you guys in this chat here.
I'm bringing it up. We gotta change this thing. Boop, boop, boop.
Okay. Oh, this light's not on.
Edit video. Editing the video. Putting all the information in. This is the pre-show. Pre-show. MMCast Live. We are talking about Pro Tour. Guilds. Actually, let's just clickbait this title. Should Pro Tours ditch draft? Yeah.
Got people in this chat. They're hanging out with us. They're talking. Not a nighttime stream this time, guys.
I'd say it's
Daytime
a nighttime stream.
Is it?
If you're on everywhere in the country but here in Hawaii.
I guess it's 4:30 because we were streaming it. We were streaming at like 10 or 11. So
yeah. This isn't a morning.
What was the other thing you uploaded today, Jacob? That was last week's episode. It was the one that you actually streamed live. I just was lazy and slow, so it took days to get it up, which is really a shame. But it streamed live, so like people saw it last week.
Yeah.
There you go.
You should telling yourself that, buddy. I believe in you.
It was only a couple days late. Anyway, we're just getting all the information set up, and then we are going to have a whole podcast episode talking about podcast things.
Doing all of the things. Now we go back to the video.
Big news in the world of Alex Kessler. There was a new Pokemon product released today.
No, it was just a trailer.
I know.
For a movie. You don't care? It's got what's his face?
I kind of care.
You really like that guy.
Ryan Reynolds?
Yeah.
I like him okay.
Yeah. You weren't you're not on board? I feel like the internet's on board.
I mean, I'm on board.
Chat, are you on board with Detective Pikachu? And
I don't
his
play
double hat.
I never
detective
played.
Hat?
I never played Pokemon Go. So.
But did you play Pokemon?
No, I collected the cards as a little kid.
Played the game? Okay, that's one of. Did you watch the show?
No.
Okay, so of the 4 main Pokemon things, you did one of them.
How many did you do?
All of them.
All of them, which is why I said in the world of Alex Kessler, and I was teasing you.
I'm not even like I don't even. There are people that are much more into Pokemon. Like I've skipped most of the games between Red and Blue, and then I started playing again in Black and White. So 5 games I didn't play, and I haven't like gotten past like the 3rd gym in any of them since Red and Blue, which I then caught all 50, 150 of them, all 150. What do we think of Ad Nauseam?
I think it's fine.
It keeps going and surviving Ad Nauseam.
Yeah.
Right?
It's not like a tier 1 deck enough that we're going to see any banning or anything. It's just a good deck.
Fine. I
It's
like
like
that
tier
it
2.
exists, and I like that it's not too good that it's format dominating. Right? Yeah? Yeah?
Totally.
I like any deck that likes to play packs and that card that makes it so you can't lose, though.
Yes, Angel's Grace.
Angel's Grace. Angel's Grace and packs is a sweet combo that I'm in
Remember I had a Delver packed deck at one point?
Yes.
It wasn't good.
It wasn't.
I won a lot of games with it, and then I took it to New York, and I played against you a few times, and lost all of them.
Hang out as we discuss if Pro Tour should have draft. Ba-ba-da-ba-ba-ba-da. Gonna copy this and share it on the internet. Do-do-do. That rhymed better than I thought it was going to.
We're live.
We're live.
We're live. Yeah.
All right. Who's here? We got Oscar. Not going to say people's last names. We got Jace. Jace is here.
What's up? What's up, Jace?
He's been guild packing, I hope. He hasn't been, actually. You're a very terrible president, Jace, the deck builder. We're very disappointed in you. You're supposed to be running this plane, keeping the guilds in check, and you're not. And now Nicol is showing up, ruining everyone's day. Cool.
Are you ready?
Are you ready? Yes. Let me bring this down so I can look at the chat.
We appear to be recording good, clean audio.
Looking at our outline. So.
We appear to be recording good, clean video.
Does the audio live sound good, everybody?
Usually we have to adjust it once, but...
What's here? Michael Boyd, real-life Pokemon movie, I'll give it a shot. Everyone in the chat's on board with Pokemon.
I mean, I'm not on board. I'm going to see it.
Yeah, it was funny. I mean, like, they are making this to make multiple movies.
Of course.
We're going to get, like, a Surfer Pikachu.
Universe of Pokemon now. Yeah.
Mewtwo's Revenge. Audio sounds good.
Killer. Okay.
Oscar thanked me for not saying his last name, despite him making it public. Yeah, I would butcher it. It would be butchered. It would be like a nice Jewish deli sandwich. Butchered.
I could say his last name correctly if I wanted to.
But he asked us not to.
I'm not going to.
So
I'm just letting you know that I'm better than you at that.
I'm not competitive about that, and I've given
You're
up on
competitive about a lot of things.
most things.
You're going to lose to me in
fact,
fantasy football.
I'm competitive about this conversation.
Okay,
That's how not competitive I am
You
about it.
you know what? Let's just get to the episode.
All right, music, and welcome back to Masters of Modern. I am your host, Alex Kessler, here with my co-host, Ben Botman.
What's up, guys? Just normal host of the show. Ben Bateman couldn't make it. I'm here. I'm Ben Botman, filling in.
Is that spelled B-A-U-G-H-T-M-A-N?
I'm like a botanist.
Yeah.
You know, that's what. Yeah.
Okay.
I'm here, guys. We're here to talk to you about what's going on in the world of Magic the Gathering. This is the Masters of Modern podcast. It's exciting. We're back. We're streaming live for you right now. There was a Pro Tour. There's all kinds of things. What are we talking about today on the show, Alex?
Pro Tour things. It's a standard Pro Tour, so from a competitive perspective, we're going to talk about a little bit of stuff. We're going to talk a lot about the format of how Pro Tours work. We're going to talk about a little bit of what happened. We're going to talk about a little bit of what cool cards saw play that were good, that if we think they might make their way into Modern. We might talk a little bit about white weenie decks in general, or mono white decks in Modern. And we're going to do some shout-outs, and we're going to talk about fantasy draft.
Oh, we did a fantasy Pro Tour draft.
Yeah, we're going to talk about that a little bit.
We did that.
Yeah.
That was fun.
Yeah.
So cool. There's a lot to talk about today on the show. If you want to follow along with the conversation, you can follow me on Twitter at Ben Bateman Media.
I'm at Kess Wiley. This podcast is at the MMCast. If you want alerts for when this show is going on, you should definitely follow on Twitter, but also subscribe on YouTube.
Yeah.
People watching live right now, hit that like, subscribe, comment, see the little thumb up. There's only 2 there, and there's at least 13 of you watching, so I want to see that go up. And then people watching this video also do that as well. And then people on the audio feed who are not watching the video, thank you. And we also would like you to check out the review page for the iTunes library. So
Please do. Keep
anywhere you can give us 5 stars, a thumbs up, or a like, or a subscribe, do so in all of those places.
I absolutely agree. The YouTube channel has been growing, which has really been cool to see. We get new subscribers every day. We have like 2,200 people in there now. So
Oscar wants you to say his last name.
he wants me to say it,
Yeah,
not
he said,
you.
say it, Ben.
He would like me to say
Exclamation mark. Does he?
Oscar Barrientos.
Okay.
I believe that was correct.
Yeah. This is double R. This might be a little bit more R.
Maybe it's Barrientos?
Yeah.
Barrientos?
Yeah, there you go. Okay. All right. Moving on.
So anyway, guys, that is what we're here to do today. Is to talk to you about all of those fun things that have happened in the Magic world since last we talked to you. What's gone on?
A Pro Tour happened.
A Pro Tour happened?
No real Modern tournaments happened. I don't think there was a Modern Open this weekend. I was not paying Grand Prix. Yeah, Pro Tour and there was Grand Prix Atlanta that was this weekend.
No, that was the one we covered.
Oh, that was 2. Because it was the week before the Pro Tour.
Yeah,
which was also in Atlanta.
Yeah. So I think.
Yeah.
I think the stuff. Wait, you said it the English way first, but good when you roll the R's. Excellent. So I think what's really interesting about standard Pro Tours and standard decks is that you can basically see when you look at these lists, because largely this Pro Tour was won by aggro decks, like Boros aggro decks. Like that was basically the top 8. So like a lot of white decks. But you can kind of see the difference between the types of cards you're playing. So there are cards that you can see that you're like a good example of this would be like History of Benalia, where you're like, this card's really powerful. It's properly costed for its rate that I could see a deck in Modern taking advantage of it. And then there's cards like Lava Coil, where you're like, this is just the classic standard available card that is being played in this slot.
Sure, and some of that is also like uniqueness of effect. Like, are there better 3 drops that create 2/2/2 tokens over 2 turns? And I don't really think there are. So like, it does get a lot of, but body onto the field that like are removal resistant. But on the other hand, how really like 3 drops I want to play in Modern are 3 drops that like win me the game in the next turn and a half if they don't get answered, or are part of a engine that lets me go on. Where this is just like a 3-mana 2/2, even though it's a 3-mana 2/2 that gives you a second 2/2 on the next turn, I wouldn't play. I mean, like, would you play, what's it called? Will you get a 2/2 token with Retrace? Not Retrace, the Flash, the
Sends Enlistment?
Like, it happens now and then it happens on your next turn?
Yeah, Rebound.
Rebound. Would you play
no.
like a 2/2 for Rebound?
And my point was less to say that I think History of Benalia belongs in Modern, because it's not like that card was introduced for this Pro Tour. That card's been legal for a while. It was more like that's the kind of card that if you saw somebody find success in a Modern tournament with that card,
you'd be like, yeah.
You'd go, okay, this was a premier mythic that was pushed pretty hard. There's a reason this card card's good, versus like you're never going to see a deck with a Lava Coil in Modern. Like it's just there are other cards that do similar things.
There isn't a 2 mana do damage for 4 exile a creature, is there? The exiling a creature, I think, is relevant.
Maybe what you're saying is true, but even then, it just feels like a 2 mana sorcery speed only creature. Is pretty narrow.
Right now,
Pillar of Flame would be more likely to see play in Modern than you would see this card.
I mean, at least looking at the top 8, the cards that like really kind of took the thing by storm, and we're going to talk about why this could have happened and what this means. But Adanto Vanguard was like kind of the big all-star of this tournament, and this has been out for like a year and a half.
That card's really good.
Yeah, it's like obviously really good. Healer's Hawk ended up being just this giant big game all weekend. Every single deck was playing multiple copies. Some of them were playing as 4-ofs.
1/1 flyer for 1?
1/1 flying lifelink for 1. And so like just like the fact that it's getting you life every turn, leading in Vanguard was a big play. It ended up that actually Johnny's Primate was the big tech for the whole weekend. Which in Modern that's a Modern playable card. Soul Sisters has been playing Johnny's Primate since the card was basically printed.
That's a cool. That's a cool variety of card. The whenever you gain life, this thing happens card.
Mm-hmm.
There's not that many of them. They've printed more in the last few years. They like to use that effect, but I like it. I like the redundancy of that effect. It makes it's finding a way to make gaining life fun, which is something that they struggled with for a long time.
Right, and like having things trigger off of it, and that's there's the new card that lets you draw cards every time you gain life if you pay 2 mana, and that's. Mark Rosewater wrote an entire section of one of his articles on just like the fact that this is a card that he was kind of worried about printing because it's so easy to incidentally gain life, but is it going to be okay color palette-wise for white to draw this many cards? And we're going to find out how it goes. I mean, it definitely is seeing some play now.
There's a card. There's a card that I'm guessing you've probably played against this with somebody at EDH at some point. The card's Searing Meditation. And that's a card that I've always been curious to see if somebody could find a way to make it work in Modern.
Sure.
The thing I would love to see somebody do is build a deck that's like sort of a Turbo Fog deck with all of the come into play tapped gain a life lands and Searing Meditation, where you could effectively just turn every single land into a triggered shock.
Sure.
That seems pretty dope. Like if you built like a deck that was like Amulet, all the tapped lands, Searing Meditation, and then just like a bunch of Stay Alive cards. So all of a sudden, every single land you draw is an untapped source. That seems like could be pretty cool.
Okay, yeah.
Especially if it comes in untapped and it can tap itself to generate one of the two.
Right. Now the big news of this top 8 is that it was 6 of the same deck, and then 1 is it Drake's. For the record, been on that train since the beginning. Glad the world's finally catching on.
I mean, you've been on the Arclight Phoenix train.
Yeah.
Yeah, but the deck's called Drake's. Were you playing Cackling Drake?
I've been high on Cackling Drake actually pretty early.
Crackling Drake?
Yeah. Enigma Drake's was from M19.
Yes, it actually was originally from Theros. Not Theros.
Not Theros.
Amonkhet.
Sure.
Yeah.
There's pyramids behind them.
I played a lot of Enigma Drakes at Gen Con. That was like my card. I played the crap out of that card.
But no, I mean, there have been multiple articles written that this is an Arclight Phoenix deck. If Arclight Phoenix wasn't this deck probably doesn't exist. I mean, Enigma Drake, or it looks like the Jeskai control deck, which is the other deck that wasn't red-white aggro.
Why do you think
then play 3 Crackling Drakes?
Why do you think aggro is such a popular choice at Pro Tours?
So, I think because Pro Tours are generally format defining, like even with this delayed Pro Tour format, which I don't like, and that'll be one of the things we talk about today, but with the delayed Pro Tour format, you get a situation where like pros are going to try and break this format, so you don't know what you're going to be playing against. And so when you're in a format where you don't know what you're playing against, a aggressive deck is just going to be a safer choice, because a control deck is always going to be hard, but then you always have players like, Jeskai Control was played by Wilson Mock, and then Is It Drake's, who it does have a lot of control features to it, was played by Yu Watanabe. So these are like people that have played a lot of blue-red spells in their lives. Now, the thing that really pay attention to, and that's kind of going to be one of the themes of today's episode, is the reason so much of the top 8 was this red-white aggro list has way more to do with draft than it has to do with the actual decks themselves. If you look at the 30 points, decks with 30 points or better, so 10-0 or 9-1 with 27 points, it's very diverse. There's a ton of blue decks, there's a ton of green decks, like there's no green decks in the top 8 here, but in this top 30 with perfect records, there's almost half of it is green decks. Either
So you're saying that the players that did really well in draft incidentally were playing these decks versus...
I think the players that did really well in draft are the ones that made it to the top 8 because you have to do well in draft, and the people that were getting really good at draft were ones that were like, I don't want to spend too much time on standard, so I'm going to play this aggressive deck so I don't have to do as much testing.
Well, historically, mono red is the usual, like, that's the old joke, like, yeah, the Pro Tour is probably going to get won by mono red. Like,
mono red has won more Pro Tours than any other deck archetype in the history of Magic.
Because and it's always on the back of some card like Goblin Rabble Master. It gets printed into standard. It's like a pushed card. It does something cool. It's a lot of value.
Not always. Even like I think the Pro Tour, Innistrad's first Pro Tour, or like Innistrad Block's Pro Tour was won by a mono red deck, and it was like just like decent red
standard,
spells.
Just staple.
Like, yeah.
Yeah. So that's interesting. And so that begs the question here, which is that do we think that limited should be a major part of the Pro Tour or a part of the Pro Tour at all?
So I did a poll, and I'm going to bring up my phone because I did it as us. No, I can go to ourselves, and cool. Did a poll. I asked the internet yesterday.
Wait a second. Was that Eric Frederick up at the top there?
Possibly. I'll go look at it in a second. Should Pro Tours get rid of draft? And I gave the options of yes, only one format, no, keep it as is, or yes, but still 2 formats. So the options are, like GP is like, there's a modern Pro Tour, and it's only modern. And then there's a standard one. And then the other option was, just keep it as is.
Yeah.
And then the third one was, yes, there shouldn't be draft in the Pro Tour, or at least most Pro Tours shouldn't automatically have draft, but there should be 2 formats, so modern and standard. And it was 37 for yes, only one format, 32% for yes, but still 2 formats, and then no, keep it as is was 31%. So
well, it's really interesting because, see, like my opinion on this is that I definitely think you should stick to one format. I think it's way more interesting and it's way more fun as a player to prepare for that. I mean, I've never played on a Pro Tour. I have played GPs, but the one thing I can tell you is that the only weekend that I am a part of that has more than one format is when we do these Highlander Invitational things.
Sure.
And you go, and it's like 6 rounds of Highlander on day 1, and then there's like a 3-round draft with something new, and then there's some old wacky like chaos type of thing.
Sure.
And I've said for a while now, we spend months preparing for this one format, this Highlander format.
yeah, I get to do all these other things at any other time I want.
Yeah, I don't care. I just want to play 12 rounds of Highlander. That's what I want to do. And so to me, this is the same thing where it's like if you're going to just grill it, you're on the Pro Tour for the first time, this is your first chance, you've been grilling standard, like play standard. That's what people want to see.
Right, and this is, I think, some of the issue. Because part of this conversation should, well, before we get that, finalizing the poll, 70% said yes, get rid of draft.
Yeah.
Like, depending on, it doesn't matter which of the 2 other options they picked, only 31%, and that's less than any other option, even if you compare it against other things, wants draft to stay as is. So that's a pretty large percentage to just say, no, we shouldn't have draft anymore in Pro Tours, because draft is relatively uninteresting to watch. Like, it's fine when you're watching draft videos online, but like from a Pro Tour perspective, there's not that much different watching draft at a Pro Tour than watching draft like on a live stream that someone's just streaming. Especially now that Arena exists, where Arena is so much more interesting to watch draft on than a Pro Tour.
Yeah.
Like, I think
interesting
that 90% of the time I would choose to watch an arena draft over a Pro Tour Magic
just
draft.
Because it's like more visually pleasing, like the animation.
You can read what the cards are saying, you can see what's happening at all times, it's built to be more representative, it's more controlled, you know what's in the player's hand. It's not like a Pro Tour where like you have to like see from top down, it's hard to see what the cards are.
And they've like really introduced a lot of technology to try to get us to be able to like over the shoulder, like see what somebody's drafting.
The amount of times in Limited that I was watching this weekend where like the card that was shown isn't the card that the people are talking about, and I don't know the names of 60% of the commons and uncommons in a format. Like, I know what the rares are that are seeing standard play, and I know obviously the ones that are, and obviously I'm a bad example because my knowledge of card names is famously bad, but like even people that, I'm better off than most casual people, and the point, so that's one issue. The other issue, and the thing to keep in mind in this conversation, to play a little bit of devil's advocate, is the Pro Tour exists as an advertisement for Magic.
That's the biggest and most important part of this, is that if you're trying to sell new cards, you get to see more of the new cards if you have a draft format. And that's very hard to, you don't get to replace that by more standard, because it's just going to be the rares and the most powerful commons. You're not going to see all the other cards.
So this is, I think, what my in-head solution is of this problem, is I think that there should be full standard GP, or full standard Pro Tours, just all standard. Because standard does still sell the most recent cards. And every single card that's seeing play in that tournament can be bought out of packs, right?
Yep,
like those are where you get them right now, is out of packs. Then There's 6. There's 6 Pro Tours now a year. That's one thing that has changed. So it allows a little bit more freedom on what you do with them. I think another format should be there should be a whole 100% draft Pro Tour.
But do you think that that's interesting to watch
I think
that many?
I think it's more interesting, at least if the whole weekend is limited, than how it currently stands. I don't know if that's better than a GP. I don't know what viewership is on, and maybe it's not. I mean, that might be true. I'm just trying to find points. I do think the modern Pro Tour has to have draft involved. I don't think you can have a modern Pro Tour by itself from the perspective of this is for a marketing budget and the purpose of this is to sell packs. And if you have nothing in the event that's not at least somewhat about that advertising spend, it's hard for Wizards to really make it make sense to the greater beings at large.
What if you eliminated just play devil's advocate again for a second? What if you were to eliminate this is a marketing budget move, and this was just the highest level Magic tournament, and the purpose of it was a big cash prize to get the biggest players out? If that was how it ran, would you want the modern Pro Tour to just be a modern Pro Tour? Well, no, I know what you're saying.
It would have the budget of a GP. It would have less than that because GPs are half paid for by people's entry fees, and this is a gift.
I understand that. So, logically, sure. But I'm saying, this is Magical Christmas Land for a second.
Yeah, but Magical Christmas Land is
stupid.
Yeah.
You're stupid. All right, fine. You're doing your thing.
Well, it's just like, hey, if this main reason that this is happening wasn't the main reason, is this a thing that's true? Yes, obviously, I would love a Pro Tour that was 100% modern, and that was it. I would, from a viewership perspective, that's the most interesting. But the money that the viewership gets them on Twitch is not even like a drop in the bucket of what everything else is. Now, with Arena existing, standard only Pro Tours makes more sense to me, because now the motivation of people wanting to play Magic is both them play Arena, where individual cards don't matter as much as them just playing more of it, and motivating them to try new decks out, so they have to use wild cards to get the cards they need.
Are you a very big fan of Arena right now?
Yeah, Arena's the best.
I barely have played it.
It's really good.
I played the closed beta, but I played it on my stupid PC that I bought that I could play Moto on. Mm-hmm. I haven't gotten to play it on Mac yet, where I feel comfortable, and it's a computer that I want to use. And
sure, I mean, when I play it on Mac, it's through Parallel, so it's technically through a PC.
Yeah, but you're using your Mac.
Yeah, it's my Mac mouse, so I know where all the keys are. And
Yeah.
I apologize to our modern audience of this podcast because of Arena and Arena being a part of my life. I have now been at least more consciously aware of Standard, and therefore more inclined to talk about it a little bit, versus before, where my main Magic activity was Modern, and so that was an issue. Now, Arena's really good. It's very well made. It's much more visually interesting than Moto. There's just a lot of things it does really, really, really right.
Interesting. All right.
Yeah. But with that in mind, I think that does allow them to do 100% format Pro Tours, because you can have a fully standard Pro Tour. Now, the other thing that I don't think a lot of people are talking about is team Pro Tours are going to become a thing. They showed that that's a thing, and I think doing a team limited Pro Tour is even interesting. Then there's more of a conversation, because team draft is a much more interesting format to watch than a regular draft, because you can't do that on Arena. You can't do that on a live stream very easily. The only real environment to do that are GPs and Pro Tours, and so having that be a cool format there is something that's exciting.
Right.
And that also lets you do kind of a 3-format thing, where one player plays Legacy, one player plays Modern, one player plays Standard. People talking to us on the chat? Mm-hmm. Ooh, there's a lot of things on the chat. Okay.
Cool.
Yeah. That's my thought on...
Should there be draft and Pro Tours?
Yeah, and I think the answer is there shouldn't be. I think because Magic is moving much more towards trying to be an esport with the Arena and with the Pro Tour in general, which has been trying to do, the point of that feature should be to gain as much viewership as possible. And one of the problems with Limited is it's the most difficult for a new player to kind of walk into, I think. With Standard, at least, every round, I'm seeing these same decks being played, and I kind of get a game plan. With Draft, it's all just somewhat generic with a bunch of cards that are really hard for me to keep track of, because every deck's playing a bunch of decks that I'm not going to need to know in 6 months.
Let's talk about quickly, before we move on from Standard, the Drake's deck. Because the mono white and the Boros deck, it's cool, and it's playing good cards. And there's interesting cards in there. There's the triple white soldier lord guy or whatever. He's cool. Obviously, we talked about Benalia and these cards. But I want to talk about this Drake's deck, because it feels like for the longest time, Okay, so Arclight Phoenix is a deck. People are playing that. That's a thing people are doing.
Yep.
And some of the other cards in here we know are not modern level powerful, but
A lot of them are, though. I mean,
Yeah.
like, Tormenting Voice has seen some modern play. Chart the Course is, like,
Definitely modern
modern playable. Lava Coil, we discussed, could be even sideboard, but it's just the best red removal spell after Shock in
Beacon
the format.
Bolt's not good enough.
Beacon Bolt is not good enough. But it's not... It's close. This kills a lot of things.
Target creature, instant sorcery card you own. I was thinking of a different card. Well, it costs 3 though, so that's the major difference here. So looking at this deck though, the thing that I find
Like
most
Discovery
interesting,
Dispersal, we've talked about modern. Opt is a modern card. Shock would just be Lightning Bolt, but fine. Radical Idea is pretty modern playable.
this deck is literally just a slightly worse version of the blue-red deck that people are playing in modern with Arclight Phoenix. What I want to talk about though is not the Arclight Phoenix part; it's the other part. It is the Crackling Drake, and then the list that we're playing, the other Drake, Enigma Drake. It's that deck, because I don't necessarily know that that's a modern deck, but those combined with, what's the other one that I love, Spellheart Chimera, which is the same card except without the exile component. That's like an interesting strategy that I've been curious if anyone's ever going to make work in modern for a long time, because you cycle through cards so fast in modern. You could turn these things into just enormous threats, like an Enigma Drake or the other thing, or a crack. I think the Crackling one probably doesn't work because it costs 4, but the other guys cost 3.
ATBs, but yeah, the other two cost 3. Sure.
The other 2 cost 3, and
you're not playing as many possible flashback variants, so the exile feature on it is not as important. Sure. Okay.
like once you get one of these guys up to 5 instants of sorceries, you have put your opponent on a very steep clock. If you get it up to 7, with them taking life off of their own lands, very likely, they're on a very quick clock.
Well, that's also why they're playing Maximize Velocity. Like, the purpose of Maximize Velocity in this deck is to give Enigma Drake or Crackling Drake at 4 or 5 mana.
Yeah.
Just, like, a haste 10-4 flyer for 5 or 4.
Well, that's
just
the
an
thing.
insane number.
You have to give them haste, is what I've learned. So one of the things that I've noticed,
Maximize Velocity is very good at.
yeah. So again, I know we're talking standard, and the other form you play standard, I play Highlander. Those are the formats we play that aren't modern. So I built a Jeskai Ascendancy deck in Highlander. Did I tell you this? I built the Jeskai Ascendancy deck. I play all of the best tutors. That's how I get it. And I play all the bad cantrips, and it works.
Okay.
So I was trying to figure out, this is a high level, you guys know, this format that I play is like, it's basically legacy level powerful. You're playing the most powerful cards. I was like, I need to have a couple other ways for this deck to win. So I threw a copy of Spellheart Chimera in the deck. And it's insane. When you play that card, you have a deck that can cycle through instants and sorceries. You untap, and you're like, all right, I'll swing for 12. Like, it ends the game so quickly. That's not that different than something you could be doing in modern. You could cycle through your deck so fast. Now, you don't get the free spells, so not having Gitaxian Probe matters. The fact that it's Street Wraith that does that, not Probe, makes the card worse. But, like, you've seen people messing around with the card Postmortem Lunge, right? That's a card people have talked about. Postmortem Lunge, at instant speed for the cost of the creature, not instant speed, with haste, gets the creature back, puts it into play with haste, and adds another point to its power. I think there's a Postmortem Lunge, Enigma Drake, Spellheart Chimera, like, spells deck that people could be playing in modern that would catch people with their pants down like crazy. Like, I think that's a real thing.
Yes, I agree. The more you talk about this deck, I mean, like, I know I'm on this train, and I'm not trying to do that here, but I do think, like, the reason these decks work here is because of the Phoenix. Like, the fact that you have the ability on turn 3 to just get 9 power haste in play without changing your game plan is very powerful. And this deck, I think, plays with that space where, and even this is a better payoff than even one of those Drakes. Like, the problem with these Drakes are they die to everything. And the nice thing about the Phoenix is that it dies to one thing in modern.
Well, the Enigma Drake doesn't, because it's got 4 toughness. It doesn't die to bolt.
Sure.
And they cost 3, so they don't immediately die to push. They die to half of push, but the 3-drops don't die to push totally.
Right. They're okay.
They're fine.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not even saying that you wouldn't play you play Enigma Drake, you play Spellheart Chimera, and you play Arclight Phoenix in the deck.
Yeah. I guess your point is that you think the Izzet Drake deck is pretty easy to transfer into modern.
I think there's a version of this deck you could find to make work in modern. And people kind of have. I mean, that's a little bit what the blue-red Phoenix deck is.
Right, and I don't know how much better... I think Enigma Drake is just better than a card, say, Bedlam Reveler and like cards in that
Yeah,
angle
right,
where
right.
it's just like these are pound for pound just good cards with what you're doing versus Enigma Drakes where, and maybe I'm wrong, and you might totally be right that Enigma Drake is the card to bring in here, but yeah, I think that's definitely something to be wary of.
Yeah, I think it's a cool idea. I think that there's some other options in Modern that are interesting to really fill your graveyard up. But anyway, so just something I noticed. It's a deck that I think is worth. There's other variations of that Arclight Phoenix deck and these blue-red spells decks, these Drake decks that Modern could feature that we haven't seen featured yet.
Okay, so next thing is the top 8 of this format. The final game, the finals, was decided by a mull to 5.
So brutal.
So, do you think that either at competitive levels like this or in general, the mulligan rule should change to become more tolerant of that moment?
Like, give you a better chance to have a real hand.
Like, someone mentioned that you should get rummage every time you mulligan, or like when you mulligan, you rummage instead of you draft, where you just discard cards from your hand. You basically partial perish. You do what Commander was doing forever, where you can discard X amount of cards from your hand, you put them to the side, you then draw that many cards once, and then put those onto the bottom, and then you mulligan like regular from that point on.
I don't think that that's as good of an idea as. So I one of the things in this format, it's hard. Like any 60 card format with 4-ofs, I think you're dealing with redundancy that's so much more impactful because your chances of drawing the right cards when you do that, it's different than in Commander and Highlander where it's singleton 100 card. Mm-hmm. That's where those different mulligan rules often come into play. Are those formats? We get a free 7 card mulligan in Highlander. What do people do in Commander?
It's the same.
You get a free 7?
You get a free 7.
I mean, I wouldn't hate...
Yeah, Highlander and Commander rules are pretty much the same in that.
I wouldn't hate a free 7 at the Pro Tour. Like, Pro Tour top 8, you get a free 7.
Yeah, I don't hate that. I think that's... Yeah, I don't hate that. I think that's...
If you got a free 7 and then your 6 was the normal...
Or the top 8 gets a free 7.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
I think if the Pro Tour top 8 was a free 7 followed by your normal scry off 6...
I think especially since they left best out of 5 and they're now best out of 3. And I might be wrong on that, and someone can correct me, but... Live chat, but I believe since it's best of 3, it should be mull. I like the idea of just a free mulligan.
Yeah, I mean, I just like there is nothing worse than those high.
Oh, they do have best of 5 matches. Okay, I guess like it's best of 5.
Yeah, and maybe that's the reason.
And then like I'm leaning more just like if the last game that you're winning in or it's tied and you go to that, like you once in a while it'll be mull to 5, like you mull to 5 and lose, but. I've won all the 5s. I don't know. That's tough.
It also changes.
It's a rough decision.
It's a farther reaching decision because it changes deck construction. You can build decks with a much more glass cannon-y kind of narrow approach if you know you're going to get a free 7, which I think is unfortunately worse for Magic than better. So in that sense, I don't know if a free 7 is helpful. Like knowing in Modern that you get to take a free 7 makes you want to play Goryo's Vengeance. Some deck like that that's going to try to win on turn 2 with the exact right draw.
Right.
It makes you want to throw back.
And that's what they're saying is the chat's even saying that is that by making the mulligan rule better, it makes combo better. And do we want combo to be better?
No. A combo needs to exist exactly where it is now, which is like it's a deck that can win if you play it really well, but you also can lose to yourself because you're playing a bunch of do-nothing cards that interact to win the game.
Sure.
And I think that's better. Magic's not fun when combo is what wins. I think we've all been there before.
So this is a whole episode topic that I just wrote down because I think it'd be interesting to talk about next week. And we've kind of talked about it before, but I think combo is the only way to have a diverse Magic format, though.
Having combo is a good thing.
Well, because but also just combo in general. There's there's thousands of different combo decks, and each strategy is different. It's different than say like mid-range control and aggro are pretty much the same no matter what way you like splice it. Maybe and then like add burn as a fourth thing, but like combo is really the one way that you actually start having diversity because there's a total difference between storm, between lantern control, between KCI, between like. Elves combo, like all of these function so differently. The problem is that when you have too many of them, it starts becoming like two ships passing in the night. But is that, yeah, I don't know. It's fascinating. We'll talk about that later.
Yeah, we can have another episode.
All right, so before we get to the next up, I do want to do some shout outs. First one is make sure to check out our sister podcast, The Command Zone. They're on iTunes, they're on collected.company. That's also where you can find our actual website existence. If you go to their YouTube channel, the third best place to find them, they all have a ton of good video content as well. They do game nights, they do a new show that's called. You know the name better than I do.
Oh, it's called Extra Turns.
Extra Turns. And yeah, they do great content. I mean, to be totally honest, most of you probably know who they are more than you know who we are.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, they're awesome. We've been working with them since the very beginning, so big shout out to them.
And then also make sure to check out our Patreon. So the camera, the mics, the way we're doing this moving forward, with your help, we can kind of keep this going on, making sure that we prioritize it. So we really thank all of our Patreon subscribers for making it keep happen. It's a little bit amount of money every month, but it's definitely one of the reasons that this show has just kept going on as long as it has, and we're really thankful.
Very thankful. Patreon.com/the MMCast. We're going to probably look at that pretty soon. Like, I would say in January, like post the new year. You think your and I plan is to sit down and look at our Patreon tiers and try to figure out, like, how are we going to reward the people that are on the Patreon better? Because I think it's one thing that we would like to do is make sure that those of you that have been supporting and continue to support have a little bit more of a direct access, like a way to really feel like you're part of this process. And
right.
You are. We just, we've been busy, and so we haven't added new things in a while. I think it's probably time. Like, I think our Patreon videos from like 3.5 years ago.
Yes.
I think it's like
this one at my dad's house when Tess was in my dad's house.
A much younger us.
Yep. Cool. Next thing, mono, white, and modern. I think we kind of talked about that. But yeah, I mean,
mono, white, and modern is basically.
Has it won a GP yet? It was the one I know that
Craig Wesco, I thought maybe won a GP.
Well, that was White Weenie. I don't think he at one point, Mono Blue has obviously won GPs with Merfolk. Mono Green has won it with Elves. Mono Red has definitely won it with
the
Scred
Soul
Red.
Sisters ever won a GP? It's just top 8'd. I don't think it's ever won.
I think it's top 8'd. I don't think it's like Proclamation Rebirth decks have just top 8'd.
Martyr Proc, yeah. There's red white prison decks that are pretty heavily white based.
I think Mono White. I think Soul Sisters. Mono White's won a GP. It's Mono Black that has never won a GP. There's never been a
8-rack.
8-rack has never won.
Really?
Yeah, a Nora Zombies deck, Nora Gray Merchant deck, no Mono Black deck has won a Modern Pro Tour, but Mono White has. I think, or not Pro Tour,
Soul
GP.
Sisters, right?
I think Soul Sisters is what
I kind of remember that happening.
And I think
definitely
it was,
top 8'd, but it might have won.
Yeah.
It might have won a GP. If somebody in the chat knows, that would be great.
Yeah, then we can get confirmation. This is the best part about doing this live.
Yes.
We get to be course corrected by the chat.
So yeah, I think other than that, I mean, the other mono white decks are those like Eldrazi and Taxes decks, and I've seen the mono white ones. That's a thing with like Arbiter and Mind Sensor, and then like the Eldrazi creatures.
Mm-hmm.
But very often those are white black because they want to play Tidehall Sculler. There's been almost every variation of those decks. Actually, Death and Taxes decks. Those are white. In general, before Eldrazi and Taxes was a thing, the Death and Taxes decks.
Oh, I think that's what won.
Flicker Wisp.
Yeah, it wasn't Soul Sisters. It was a Flicker Wisp.
Yeah.
Like,
now those decks are
Grand Arbiter or Arbiter, not Grand Arbiter. Leon Arbiter.
Those decks are usually Eldrazi-ish now. They're often like that suite of all of your Eldrazi lands and your Thought Seers and stuff are usually what make those decks work. But there have been just straight up mono white ones. That's the thing. So
this is, people are now on the chat arguing about how to do mulligans. Going back to that for a hot second. One idea that I've always had that I realized I didn't say is, what about scry equals X times number of mulligans?
On your first mulligan, it's a scry 1. On your second mulligan, it's a scry 2. Mm-hmm. I just don't think mulling to 5 scry 2 is going to help you that much.
I do. I mean, making it so that your next, because you don't. That's why I think if you scried 1 5 times, it would be bad because then you just have one card.
Okay.
But scry 5 is like,
yeah, insane.
You just set the top. Your top 5 cards are part of your hand at that point, but you just don't have them at times, so you have to temper it. And it might be scry mulligan, scry -1 times mulligans or something like that. But yeah.
All right.
I also think that doing a mulligan, scry, and then you get a free mulligan at scry 1. Then you scry, then you get a free mulligan at scry 1. Or even maybe subtracting the scry every other time. So you go like from 7 to 6 plus scry to 6 to 5 plus scry to 5 to 4 plus scry. Like go down that way.
Yeah. Yeah, could be. What else we got? What else on the docket? Producer?
Producer?
Yeah.
I'm the producer. I have so many jobs.
This has been so nice. So it's true. This is a peek behind the curtain for you guys. We've done the show for how long now? 4.5 years? Mm-hmm. 4.5 years ago, Alex started this. I was not on, some of you don't know this or don't remember this, I was not on the first 6 episodes, I think. I think the 7th episode was maybe my first episode. And Alex started this podcast. So, like, when I joined, this was a thing where he had, like, sort of ownership of it. Like, he was the one who was producing it, and he would come up with the show outlines, and I would just show up. Over the years, we got busier, we did more things, it became a little more shared. Then he got really busy, and he started a company. And I took on, for the last year, a lot of the production duties, but it's kind of nice, like, doing this at night and having you make the outline. Feels like the old days a little bit.
It is nice going back to nighttime.
Yeah, doesn't feel as stressful.
What do you want to play at this GP you're going to?
I'm gonna be going to Grand Prix Portland.
This is the last section to find final shout-outs, so
yeah,
this is it. This is your moment.
This is my moment.
You're going to play mono white?
Maybe. I've thought about playing Death and Taxes decks before.
What about Drake Arclight Phoenix things?
Yeah, I mean, I've looked at, like... I don't have right now a deck that... Really? You got rid of all the rest? Mm-hmm. Did you sell them online, or?
Someone bought them online for 4, and then Craig went to some store and sold a bunch.
Sold the rest?
Yep.
I don't have a deck right now that is like that pet deck that I've wanted to play, that I've talked about on the show forever, that now I'm going to sleeve up. Like, usually I have that deck. I don't have that right now. I have a lot of ideas.
Well, no, I disagree. For the last, 6 months, we've been talking about, not 6 months, for the last 3 months, we've been talking about Arclight Phoenix with Life from the Loam. Like, I think that, and the...
When I tested it on my phone, I didn't like it that much. I changed it. I mean, like, so...
Can I see your list while we're talking?
Yeah.
You keep talking about what you want to think about playing while I judge your list based on my list.
Yeah, well, because originally the deck that I had taken to that GP was a what's it called deck? It was a Jund. It was a Jund color deck. Correct. With, like, all the Firebrand archers and stuff. And then the version eventually that I have worked on, no, that's the wrong deck, was a Teamer version. That's the one that Piratery Share will continue. This was the last version that I had in my phone. And you and I talked about, like, what ways to change it. I don't know. That's a possibility. I've seen a lot of good Arclight Phoenix decks, so I don't know if, like, playing this is necessarily the right deck. I think I'm maybe just playing a worse version of a good deck if I do that. I definitely... Yeah,
I don't like Electrostatic Field.
Yeah.
I think that's way worse than Thing of the Ice.
Yeah, I mean, it's just, at that point, it just becomes...
Here, I'm going to show you my list. But so basically, we'll post these online. I'll post Ben's here on the camera. And the key things to his is that he's playing 4 Pondrify, 4 Serum Visions, and 4 Flame Jabs, which I think, and 4 Electrostatic Fields. And I think that's a lot of all of those. With Flame Jab, the second one is so much worse than the first 3, and you have so many different ways to draw cards in your deck that, like, just multiples get bad. Pondrify, you're really hyped on, and I'm going to let you continue to be really hyped on. I think
it's a cool idea.
Electrostatic Field is just way worse than the wall. What's it called? Thing of the Ice,
which is also a 0/4.
Like also the fact that Thing of the Ice, Arclight Phoenix, and Bedlam Reveler have all these, like, really intricately cool working
like the
features together, like the horror tribal between Bedlam Reveler and Thing of the Ice.
I could play horror tribal. Jeff Roberts and I have been talking online about a horror tribal deck since that episode.
And then Bedlam Reveler and Arclight Phoenix are obviously really good because you discard the Arclight Phoenix and the draw cards to build cast Arclight Phoenixes into play, and then Arclight Phoenix come in after you trigger Thing of the Ice because of the timing of their enter the battlefield effect. So they all work really well together.
I kind of want to play the Kragenwick Cremator deck with Galta and all the huge creatures. That deck's sweet.
Yeah, that deck's cool too.
Hey, you know another deck, by the way, I was thinking that I'm curious that we haven't seen show up yet and no one's even played, and let alone in Standard no one has played, but is a Rat Colony deck. I'm surprised that no one's tried it yet. It seems like there are enough things that you can do that make...
I think it just dies to Lingering Souls.
Well, definitely, but obviously you have to just be able to get through. Like, for instance, in Standard, what about that card, like Tetsuo Umezawa Fugitive, the 1/3, that any creature you have with power toughness 1 or less is unblockable?
Oh, the rat deck, like, there's a really good meme on Twitter where I think it was Saffron Olive or it was one of those kind of guys.
Rat Colony is bad. Yes, I think you're probably right.
Where they, like, made a Rat Colony deck on Arena, and it was, like, really cheap because it's all, uncommons, and, like, someone was like, thanks for, like, using the internet, nerd, and then, like, was, like, aggressively mean to that person, and he was just like, okay.
Oh, you know what I could do, actually? This is a deck that I've wanted to test out. Maybe I should build this, is the Nicol Bolas Training Grounds deck. That's a deck that I actually thought was pretty sweet with
It's Training Grounds. Oh, it's modern. Yeah, okay, yeah, fine.
Training Grounds and Pack Rat
Doesn't
and
it just make it
Nicobolus.
for 3 mana? Isn't the activation 4?
For what?
It's 4 and 4, right? Or how much does it cost to activate Nicol Bolas to flip them?
It costs 7, I believe.
Okay. So it would cost 5?
It costs 5, which means you can play Nicol Bolas, untap, and then flip him the next turn.
Okay.
I think the way I wanted to build this deck was all good spells: Training Grounds, Pack Rat, Nicol Bolas, and then Tasigur, because Tasigur's activated ability then costs 2, so you can go Stone Cold Nuts.
What was the last time you went to a GP and played a deck that was like
A real deck?
A real deck.
I don't know. Maybe never. I don't do that. It's not fun for me.
How do you know if you've never done it?
Actually, well, I take that back. I played Kessel Run, which was kind of a real deck.
Kind of. And you had a lot of fun.
Yes, but I had some part in building that deck. I swapped out 8 cards from the main deck before I played it.
Sure, but I think all these actually, I think you finding a good Arclight Phoenix Horror Bedlam Reveler deck and then switching in 4 Pontify for 4 of their removal spells is exactly what
Kessel
you want
Run
to do.
again. Actually, I really liked playing Kessel Run. That was really fun.
I haven't modified it; still exists.
And I would have to probably take out the Meddling Mages. I think they're worse. We would have to have a better game plan against Spirits than not just get tempoed out really hard.
Sure.
But I could play that deck again. That deck was really fun.
Yeah.
So.
All right.
That's
it for that segment. Internet, world at large, live chat, people watching this not live but on YouTube, people listening to this while driving their car. All of you, stop right now and text Ben through Twitter or
Tweet
through
me
the chat
at
or
Ben
through the
Big
comments.
Media. Let me know. Yeah, leave your thoughts in the comments about what you think I should play at this
Yes,
GP, because I'm going to be
absolutely.
spending the next few weeks
We
getting
want
ready
deck
for it.
lists. Give me 2 cards that you'd like people to prioritize having in deck lists they send you.
I would love to make a Nicol Bolas deck work. With
The new
standard.
4 mana
He's
Nicol Bolas?
really good.
Okay.
I would love to play that card.
So
I think that'd
we
be
want
fun.
decks with Nicol Bolas and give me Pontify?
And Pongify Rapid Hybridization decks. If
Yeah.
anybody can figure out a way to make that work, I'm into that.
Okay. Deal.
So,
all right.
all right.
Thanks, everyone. And then last 2 shout-outs. Make sure to check out the Facebook groups. We got a big Facebook group. We got a Facebook page. It's another place that when we go live or post our content, we post it there. Facebook group is just kind of, I think we're the largest modern group on all of Facebook.
By far, 5,000 people.
Yeah, we own the Facebook modern
Yeah.
conversation.
I get lost in there. It's too much.
Yeah. It's fun. It's definitely exploded. It's interesting. It's a place meant for talking about cool deck ideas, but then there's definitely a crowd of people that want a modern group that's more focused on
Winning.
competitive modern and winning every
It's
game.
also debatable how many people in that group actually listen to this show. There's some number, but
I think it's 20%. I did a poll once.
20% of the people in the group listen
Yeah, I
to
think
our
it's
show.
low. Yeah.
Wow, that's crazy.
So more of you guys go check it out so we can raise that number.
When I'll comment on something, I'll comment on something.
Yeah.
So be like, "Who are you, bro? Get out of here!" And I'll be like, "You kicked me out of my own band."
It's grown past you, Ben. It's bigger than you. And
and I have a brand new
you
show
have
on
a new
Collider.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I have a brand new show on Collider Podcast Network. It's called The Action Guys. Me and Andrew Guy, who a lot of you guys know from Action Movie Anatomy. Alex has guested on that show several times. We have a new show that we are doing. It's like the sister podcast to Action Movie Anatomy right now. So Action Movie Anatomy is 1 movie every single week. This is the shorter version that is taking ideas and then getting to break them down. So for instance, Action Movie Anatomy will do Fight Club 1 week. We'll have a whole conversation on The Action Guys about David Fincher versus Christopher Nolan, who is the superior director. So they kind of go hand in hand. Check it out. It's on the Collider Podcast Network YouTube channel and also the Movie Talk feed over at Collider. So I'm excited about that. We just launched last week. You can check out the first episode. We do a bunch of stupid Gerard Butler impressions. And that's going to be that.
Cool.
So,
Last but not least is you guys all might remember the game Battle Bosses. It's in this top right corner generally all the time. Now zooming in on it in the video. It's the game we kickstarted earlier this fall, at the beginning of the fall, end of the summer. The backer kit is launching probably at the end of this week, so by the time this video is not live, but just regularly available, you can go check it out. It's a way to, if you missed the Kickstarter and want to buy it and see what it's about, go buy. If you want to increase what you did on Kickstarter, you can go there. If you just want to give us the information for what you want to get and where you need to get it delivered, check out the backer kit. If you go to the Kickstarter page looking up Battle Bosses, it'll be linked to there, also our website, also on Twitter, also everywhere, and then probably in the show notes. So make sure to check that out. And Ben just scrolled away from my face because he wants to talk.
I just like that we can move this camera around. We never do. We always just keep it static. We never use it. So anyway, guys.
You're right.
Thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. You guys have been terrific. We love doing the show. We'll be back same time, same place next week. We have our spoiler
Thanks, guys.
for Ultimate Masters coming up. So stay tuned for that.
Preview card on Tuesday. probably in the morning. It'll be one of our last morning recordings because we have to do it. Well, generally preview cards will be in the morning. So it'll be Tuesday morning. Check it out. Thanksgiving episode.
Yeah.
Ben's going to dress up like a turkey.
Really?
Yeah.
All right.
It's happening.
Bye, guys.